Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Magdaluyo. I'm a fourth-year computer engineering student and from the University of California, Irvine, and I am currently Fusion's president. And for FUSIONCon, one of our events today is the industry panel. So let me just introduce Fusion if you're not familiar. Fusion stands for Filipinos Unifying Scientists and Engineers in an Organized Network, and we are an engineering student organization at UCI focused on the crossroads of Filipino culture and engineering. And today we invited a number of professionals to talk about their professional development journey. And you will have an opportunity to engage with them and talk to them, and as well as your peers later on in breakout rooms. Get to know each other and talk about your career. And with that, I will move on to introducing our panelists. Let me go. Oh, wait. Actually, let me just talk about the schedule really quickly. Before the introduction, or after the introduction, sorry, we will have a couple of main questions that I will be asking our panelists. And then after that, we will have, you will have a chance to ask your own questions. And then, like I said, we will have breakout room sessions, and then that will be it for the event. So yeah, let's actually do the introductions now. Let's start with Luke.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Luke Grantham. My current position is ASIC design engineer in the modem design team at Qualcomm. I made the switch from ASIC validation from where Richard interned on the team that I was on at Western Digital. Oh, shoot, my cat ran across. All right, here we go. So basically what I used to do was like verify that the computer chips work well and correctly so that when they do make them, that no errors happen. And now I'm further in the process, or previous in the process, where I'm designing all the RTL and the power and all the different components that go into making a chip for phones. So lots of stuff to balance in between that. And it's very challenging. I'm trying my best to keep up, but you know how first month or year are in a job takes a while to ramp up. So far I like it. COVID has been a little tough kind of getting on board because usually you don't have that face-to-face stuff. But I guess the part where you asked like what I tried to learn during quarantine was when it first hit, I needed something that was kind of engaging, but not like in person. So I got into online chess. So that's what I've been doing with my time. And that's what I do like on breaks. My grandma bought me or gave me a nice chess set. And then I just started playing online. And that's what I like to do now in my spare time, besides Warzone. I'm terrible. I'm like 1100 in chess.com and like 15 on Lichess, but I'm bad. I usually play Blitz or Bullet. So I'm awful, but I've learned a lot. And I start out really low and I'm working my way up. So a lot of fun.
All right. Good to see you again, Luke. And that's really cool to know that you also started playing chess. I also have started doing that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people pull into it, so it's a lot of fun. It really like my heart starts beating. It gives me something to stress about. So a lot of fun.
All right, yeah, Bullet. If you're for those of you who aren't familiar, is chess where you only have a minute to make all your moves. So a bit of a backdrop, but yeah. Thank you, Luke, and thank you for joining us today. Up next, we have Aaron.
All right, everyone. I'm Aaron. I was part of Fusion throughout my UCI career. I joined Fusion at 2017 and graduated UCI 2019. Besides that, what I do is I'm an environmental engineer for a consulting firm. I'm currently with Tetra Tech. I'm pursuing a new opportunity at another consulting firm, basically the same thing, but a higher position. And I'll be mainly what I do is doing soil and groundwater treatment of properties and contaminated sites. We design the systems to treat the soil or groundwater contamination using chemical engineering, environmental engineering, and civil, all aspects of engineering, basically. I've been working there since I was an intern at Tetra Tech. I started when I first transferred to UCI, and then they hired me full-time when I graduated from UCI, and then been working ever since, and currently moving on from them and taking on a new role. But besides that, changed my perspective, or what has been change after COVID-19. I guess the main thing the hobby that I took on was videography and photography. So that was one thing that kept me sane. I picked it up and I have my own videography business, a small business that I'm trying to build up. I have a little bit of more entrepreneurial mindset where I can try to grow that business as well as do promote my practice using that skill set. So that'll be something that I'm looking to do in the future. And it's another one. What do you like to do during vacation? Let's see. I like to travel. I like to go hiking. I like to work out. Those are my main hobbies. And having an active lifestyle has kind of been my main hobby during my vacation. Recent achievements in professional development. Yeah, like I said, I just got promoted for another opportunity at another consulting firm. So that'll be a new challenge that I'm taking on. And
Aaron, by the way, just didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, sorry. What?
For the intro question, like I think if you want to expand on your videography for now, the questions that I shared earlier in the chat with the panelists would be for just in case, like if other attendees will ask that later.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah.
All right, then I'm done then.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think if you want to hear about those later, those are really cool things that you can share. I'd love to see those.
Yeah.
Up next, we have Maria.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Maria. I'm currently a flight controls engineer at Boeing. There in Long Beach, not too far from UCI. Let's see, what new skill have you tried to learn during quarantine? Haven't tried to learn any new skills, but definitely took up biking. I mean, I already knew how to bike, but took up biking. Like to take my puppy to the dog park on the bike. So I get my exercise in, she gets her exercise in. Another thing I guess I've tried to sort of, I mean, I knew how to cook, but I think just not having a lot of options to go out kind of just made it more encouraging to cook at home and, you know, be safer that way. Don't contract COVID at a restaurant or something. So yeah, that's me. I guess I'll talk a little bit more about what I do. So as a flight controls engineer, I work on the C-17 program, which is a military cargo airplane. So US Air Force has some, Royal Air Force, which is the UK. Australia has a few of ours, also India, Kuwait, or Qatar, actually, not Kuwait. So what I do is I help design control laws to make flying easier for the pilots, for our troops. The C-17 is used in like humanitarian missions. So it was used a lot during the beginning of the COVID pandemic by taking PPE to countries that needed it and just transporting them. It's a huge aircraft. You can probably fit 1 million, 2 million masks in there. But yeah, that's a little bit of what I do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Maria. And lastly, we have Ryan for today.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Ryan. I graduated UCI in 2013 as a mechanical engineer, bachelor's in mechanical engineering. I knew one day that I would be the oldest person in the room. I didn't think today would be that day, but nonetheless, I still feel young. I hope. I kind of, yeah. So I'm a powertrain test engineer with Stellantis currently. Stellantis is formerly Chrysler, or Fiat Chrysler, merged with Peugeot. So I've been at this role for over 1.5 years now. What I do is kind of vehicle level testing, which I inject electrical faults and CAN faults into the powertrain, and kind of see how the vehicle reacts to that kind of fault to ensure that it does drive safely. So that is my current role. Previously, I was part of engine calibration at Toyota. That was the majority of my experience, Toyota Motors manufacturing. Engine calibration, what it is basically is kind of, you have the engine outside the vehicle, and we're testing the controls of it, the calibration of it. If you can imagine, like, you know, during the shower and like you have a certain pressure and temperature, you're calibrating that knob so that it's the perfect temperature for you, perfect pressure for you. That's pretty much what I did as an engine calibration for engines. And as for any new skills that I've over quarantine, I actually started building an electric bike. I took up this hobby to kind of get to know, kind of learn more about electrified powertrain systems and whatever that is in a vehicle. I mean, the parts are pretty similar to that in a bike. So I sourced together the parts, battery, motor, inverter, a few other things, put that together into a conventional bike. And I actually got it built up and I tested it this past weekend and it works wonderfully. So pretty proud about that one.
That sounds awesome. Thank you for that, Ryan. And up next, we have the questions I have prepared for you, all of you panelists. So the first question is just to help us kind of understand the choices you made so far to get to this kind of decision in your career. So let's start with Luke again, just to give us a brief overview of what choices you've made since post-secondary, post-high school, and if you know what colleges you went to, what internships you took up, or any other places you've been to.
Cool. So I guess my engineering interest started with my parents because they were both civil and mechanical engineers. They both graduated from the same undergrad like place that I went to, SDSU, and never left the area. So they own their own small business, and I kind of grew up around the setting of like always talking about like their engineering work around the dinner table and all that stuff. But I started doing some work for them, and I realized I did not like the mechanical stuff that they did. I know there's some cool stuff out there, but I wanted to try something more computer related. So I went to SDSU for my undergrad in computer engineering, Bachelor of Science, and really did not like it until the last year, until everything kind of came together, you know, because like in the first 3 years, you're doing a bunch of like stuff that's scattered all over the place, it seems like. And then at the last year, it kind of all came together, and I was like, oh, this would be great to try. So at my internship, I interned at a composite company that built plane parts out of carbon fiber and all those like, different stuff like that in controls. And I liked that, but I just kept like looking around and seeing what other options were there. So I ended up at WD doing like testing with circuit devices. So that was a lot of fun. Learned way too much from people that like to talk a lot, and really set me up to kind of see what the ASIC world had to offer. And in testing all that different stuff, I was like interfacing with all the design team, the emulation team, and the design people really, I liked what they were doing. So I asked them like, okay, what do I need to do to get to your job? And they're like, well, everybody here has their master's. It's not like we require it, but it does help a lot. This person has theirs from here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hey, where should I try and go? And like, well, USC is pretty close. Go try there, or UCI, or wherever, anywhere that's near. So I just applied all over the place and started doing it part-time with the support. Like my boss really supported that part in developing my career process. So I started doing like one class in the evenings, and then basically my entire schedule was work, school, gym, and I would rinse and repeat. So that really got me interested in the design part, and I learned a lot of tools necessary to do that. And through that, met some people. Recruiter reached out and said, hey, you want to try your hand at design? I'm like, sure, why not? Did the interview, felt like it did terrible, but I guess they saw something in me. So now I'm working in design and I'm loving it so far. It's very fast paced, but also there's so much to learn and like really on the cutting edge of technology. So I really enjoy that part. The next steps is just graduate. I have 2 classes left, and I'll do like 1 class fall, 1 class spring, and then kind of see what happens after that. I don't want to like make huge plans because everything changes, especially with COVID. Like I've learned like 1 day at a time, and just keep your head down and focus on learning as much as I can as fast as possible is my goal. So I guess that's a good sum of what I'm doing and how I got here.
Awesome. Thank you, Luke. Let's go with Ryan next.
Yeah, so So yeah, looking back at my career development, as I mentioned, I am a powertrain test engineer, but looking back, I think my preparation really started uh, in high school as I was graduating as a senior. Um, I was graduating at a time when the recession hit. My parents, uh, they had recently opened a new restaurant business right when the recession hit, when nobody really knew, and they struggled quite difficultly. And so, being the first and only um, sibling out of five to go to a four-year degree, I felt a lot of, I guess, weight to achieve and kind of prepare myself uh, through college to get a job right after graduating. So, with that kind of mindset, um, I had to build a plan for myself over the 4 years. And what I did was um, I aimed for research, I aimed for internship, and aimed for vocational courses to tailor my skills right away. I didn't know what it would be. It would take some time going into the years to really figure out like what that meant, so or what the details behind each step. Um, so going into the research aspect of it, um, I knew that what I wanted to do, I wanted to make an impact on the world and somehow, but I didn't know how really. And at the time, also, this is when climate change started capturing more of the news. So I felt that I could maybe um, get more in tune with that. So looking into the professors in the College of Engineering, um, several professors were involved in this kind of research, and so I contacted one of them. One of them being Professor Samuelson. Um, he helped me a lot with getting, uh, I guess, more educated and knowledgeable about like what it means to have advanced energy, advanced power, sustainable alternative power transportation. So I got kind of more in depth with the research. From there, I got into internship, which helped then prep me for, I guess, kind of steer where I wanted to go. And for vocational skills, um, I at UCI maybe something has changed. I just know that for automotive, there's uh, a capstone project for race car, um, but no exact automotive fundamentals course at the time. And so I took it upon myself to find that within surrounding community colleges. And then I took that, which helped prepare me for an interview with Toyota at the career fair that same year. So from there, that kind of kicked off my career into the automotive world. Another thing from that point to where I am now, I always knew that a bachelor's degree would be the new high school diploma. As you might see now that maybe uh, more people around are getting more, I guess, well, degrees basically. So kind of a master's degree was kind of like my next achievement from there. Eventually, I did go to Cal State Long Beach to and um, work while I was in school, and then yeah, that kind of set me up for where I'm at right now.
All right, thank you so much, Ryan. And I think one takeaway there was you took your time to find like an alternative for something that you couldn't find at UCI. And I think that's a good thing for anyone here to realize that you don't, even if you don't have everything that you need on your home university, there's other ways to like work around that. Let's go to Maria next.
All right, so it's me again. Okay, so the question is an overview of your career development starting from post-secondary class. So I got interested in engineering just because, I mean, I was really good at math, really good at science, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to write essays all the time, so let me pursue something in engineering. I saw this guy that became like the first Mexican American engineer in space. He was an aerospace engineer like in school. So I was like, oh, this is something I can do.
Treat my ship.
They meet him. Okay. Yeah, so I was so that's kind of what interested me. I also thought airplanes were very cool, even though I had never gotten on one at that time. I didn't get on my first airplane until I was 21 years old. But I think just, they're pretty magical how they fly and stuff. So yeah, went to UCI, finished a degree in 4 years with an aerospace engineering degree. I guess going back further, my parents, I was the first one to graduate from college in my family. My dad is a house painter. My mom was kind of like, she took care of us at home, but now that me and my brother are both in college or graduated, she helps them now. So we did not come from money, did not come from anything, which means, if any of you have the same background, you guys can make it too. During college, I did not have any internships. Again, there is hope if you can't get internships. Internships are really hard to get. I never had one, but I think I'm doing okay. When I got out of school, I had choices to go to Connecticut to work at Pratt & Whitney, or to go to Boeing's, I think it's like satellite division in New Mexico, but I didn't want to leave like my loved ones that live in California. So I decided to forego those jobs and just keep looking. So then I ended up stumbling upon a software systems engineer job at Rockwell Collins in Irvine. So now it's known as Collins Aerospace because it got bought out. But it got bought out about a year after I started working there, and everybody I knew that were like 30 plus, like career, like they worked there for over 30 years, are like, yeah, you should probably look elsewhere. This isn't looking good. We're gonna get sold. Parts are gonna get like disappeared. Like no one's gonna pick them up. You should probably look. So then I got a job at Boeing as a human factors engineer, which I know probably none of you have heard of it, but it's essentially the way that the pilots use the aircraft. So a lot of that interface. So I had to do a lot of like surveys, test procedures whenever we wanted to put a new capability on the aircraft. I didn't think that job was very challenging. I felt like I wasn't really using my degree. I wanted to do something more with airplanes, not like actually making a difference with the aircraft, not really just verifying that whatever was put on the aircraft was okay. So I started talking to people there at work 6 months in, and I really, really wanted to join flight controls. Control theory was something I really liked in school. So I was like, hey, I could be good at that. Started working with them for a little bit. So I was part-time, both jobs. So I worked half of my time, human factors, half of my time, flight controls. So I have a lot to owe to my managers for really helping me out, like facilitating that for me. 2 years of doing that got very stressful. And eventually I found the opportunity and I was able to move in full-time. So that happened earlier this year. So now I'm a full-time flight controls engineer. And I'm currently getting my master's in aerospace engineering through the University of Illinois. So it's a completely online program. Super good if any of you are interested in pursuing higher education afterwards. I take a class a semester. It's going to take forever, but it makes it a lot more manageable being a full-time student. And that's all I got. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Maria. Let's go to Aaron next.
All right, sweet. So I guess my interest for engineering started in community college. So I went to community college for 2 years before I transferred to UCI. I fell in love with math. That's the one thing that got me into engineering, because I was originally a bio major, pre-med, but those dreams came crashing down once I realized I didn't like bio that much. So I love math and I just wanted to keep pursuing it. So I pursued chemical engineering. And also, I think my mom was a big factor because she was a chemical engineer. So she played a key role in, I kind of looked up to her. So I chose that degree. And yeah, so I started, once I transferred to UCI, the one thing I knew was I needed to apply to internships as much as possible. I wanted to get involved in build up my extracurricular activities because I knew my grades wasn't the best. My grades were average at most, but I knew I needed to really bump up my my experience. So once I transferred, I needed to get an internship, and I kept applying until I came across Tetra Tech. Tetra Tech hired me when I was still in school. I think I was a junior, going into my junior year, my third year for UCI, and then once I got the opportunity, I fell in love with consulting. So Tetra Tech's a consulting firm. We do a lot of do a lot of water system civil designs, environmental work for different clients. It can be a manufacturing facility that's trying to transfer their facility to convert to industrial site, or like a commercial or residential sites. And there's usually a environmental litigation involved. They got to pass through, make sure that the soil and the groundwater is not contaminated. So that's mainly the scope of work that we deal with at with my current employer. And so that's one thing. I fell in love with consulting because you get to do a lot of variety. There's field work involved. You can be out in the field conducting the site investigation, doing sampling, soil and gas and water sampling. So there's a lot of variety of tasks, and there's a lot to learn. I love doing the design work. That's mainly what I do at Tetra Tech currently. And I will, that's one thing that I really fell in love with, doing AutoCAD and doing some of the calculations that we use that in our senior design. A lot of that is applied through the type of the work that we do at Tetra Tech or other consulting firms. So yeah, I just stuck with it. And so yeah, the main difference for me was the internship. So having that internship experience kind of set me apart from other applicants. Once I graduated from UCI, Tetra Tech basically hired me as a full-time engineer right after, just because of the familiarity and the experience that I gained throughout those 2 years. And also you get to learn, while being in school and having an internship, you get to learn some time management, and you got to make sure that you're focusing on school, and also having some industry experience is really good. So yeah, so that's about it.
All right. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you all panelists for answering that question. I do want to highlight, I think the takeaway from that is everyone has a different sort of background, and you will find different ways to find what you want to do throughout your career. And that kind of segues to the next question, where I want to ask, what were some challenges you faced? And let's focus also on what resources you might have used to overcome those challenges. Once again, like, since now we know like, well, how you got here, maybe you can focus on one thing that you mentioned previously, whether that's a mentorship or a class that you took or an internship that really drove your career forward from what you can remember. So for this question, let's start with Ryan.
All right. So a highlight that helped push me forward. As a student, I think the career fairs and the professional development organizations really did help me prepare myself for what it took to get into the professional world. So I think, as you all might know, classes, they only go so far when it comes to interviewing. The content is good and should be stressed, yes, but the social aspect of an interview, what employers may be looking for in a candidate, I think that's something that isn't taught normally. But there are resources at UCI to help you with that. I personally got into SAGE. It's it was a kind of a student achievement guided by experience. That's what it stood for, and it was a kind of a leadership slash like professional kind of gearing us towards professional organization that we had to be selected into to kind of learn, I guess, how to build a resume, well, how to do mock interviews, how to present yourself. I think taking, or I guess being part of that organization and also going to the career fairs, kind of practicing that interaction with the employers, that really helped me gear myself towards getting the interview or nailing the interview and getting into my first job, which then set me up for the rest of my career.
All right, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, definitely I think talking and learning how to talk to professionals before you interview is very important. And let's go to Aaron next.
Okay, so the question is, what were some of the challenges that you face transitioning from student to being professional? Okay. I guess one of the main challenges that I faced was, yeah, like Ryan said, it's different in the industry. There's different lingo, per se, different terms that they use that are not really used in when you're being taught in school. And there's there's skill sets that you kind of have to learn on your own, like for example, Excel, a lot of the Microsoft softwares. Those are things that they assume that you already know how to do, and you got to be pretty proficient at. That was one challenge when I came in as an intern. I thought I was good at Excel or other Microsoft, like Microsoft Word and stuff like that, and I didn't know anything. So that was one of the main challenges I faced when I was transitioning from student to intern. And what are some resources that helped me navigate them? I guess one of the resources, I mean, my coworkers were the main resources. Asking questions, whether if you don't know, you might want to ask your coworkers, instead of trying to figure it out on your own, because it might take you a while. I would do your own research. Some of the stuff that are not taught or that weren't taught, you might want to do your own research and be familiar with what's going on before asking the question, so you're not blindsided of other terms that might be brought up. Let's see, another challenge. Can't think of another one that I faced. But I think, yeah, that's mainly the one thing that, yeah, I think that's about it for me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, highlighting like some tools that you're not familiar with is very important. Like a lot of us might not realize that until you start working.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, realizing that now, you can get started with that because it's used everywhere. So,
right.
Yeah, let's go to Maria next. Thank you, Aaron.
Let's see. So for me, yeah, I think I'll chime in with what Aaron said. Yeah, you think you know how to use Excel and Word. You really don't till you get to work. And it's like, they're like, oh yeah, I'm good at Word. And then they'll tell you to do something like completely, I don't know, it's probably not even documented in a book anywhere. And it's like, okay, let me ask around and stuff. So for stuff like that, where you really don't know how to use a particular tool or something, definitely best resource is just ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help. That's honestly one of the things that makes you better at your job. For me, going from student to professional, at least for sure, I guess going to Boeing, everybody had like a 30+ career already. And me, I'm like, hey, I've worked a year elsewhere. That was a big hurdle, I think, because yeah, like you go into a place where they know all the acronyms, they know all the lingo, they know everything, and you're just there like, excuse me, what is that again? Again, resource that can help is just be honest, be like, hey, what does that mean? Like please remind me and I'll write it down or something. So acronyms are huge, especially from what I've seen in Boeing. Like I've seen a book of acronyms that's like this big. It's huge. It's like 4 inches big. Definitely that was a major thing. For me, one of the things that I've also seen, well, not for me, but what I've seen is a big challenge for people going from student to a professional is a lack of communication skills. It's a lot of people. You can be the smart, you can have a 4.0, but if you can't verbalize your ideas, you can't put them on paper, you can't explain them to someone, that does you no good when going into the industry. That is 100% the biggest advice I can give to all you guys. So it's really important to use these platforms right now. This is a resource that you have where you can speak up, ask your questions. Don't put them in the chat. Ask them, this is important. And I don't want to be mean, but this is definitely one of the biggest building blocks that you can get in your career. And it's something that you'll always be improving, but definitely best to start early, start right now.
Great. Thank you, Maria, for highlighting, of course, the importance of communication and learning how to talk to your coworkers, because it's different. It's a different environment. And yeah, let's finish up this question with Luke.
All right. So I wrote down 3 things. First one was getting a job that I actually wanted. That was really tough because, when you're looking, you're scrolling through all the open jobs that your school board posts or all the stuff on like job boards. You're like, I mean, that'd be cool, but I need like 5 years experience, or that looks terrible and they're the only one that's hiring right now. So I'm just gonna like shotgun the resume out there. So that's what I did. And really what really helped was like finding a friend and like who's looking for the same kind of job, and then like weekly meetings where you do like mock questions that either they heard from their interview or you heard from your interview, and you go back and forth and kind of ask it the same way it was asked to you and vice versa. And that really helped. Like me and my friend Mustafa did that for like 3 months. He got a insane job at Intel and I got into Qualcomm, and that really it really helped us find like what kind of questions were asked, how hard, how easy, the whole process. And it was a great tool in that sense. And then once I actually had the job, the first challenge was like spending time like digging really deep into a certain part of like what your team does, because a lot of time you're on a team where they have a lot of responsibility and you're the new guy and you're trying to like contribute somehow. And the best thing that I did was I learned this new tool that we had to learn as a team, but I became like the expert in that tool that everybody came with questions. And that was really helpful because it helped me feel like I was contributing, and it gave me some like level of knowledge that I could take elsewhere or really help the team out, And the third one was I just got lost in meetings because they'll shotgun you with acronyms that you haven't heard of, and they'll use the same acronym that means 2 different things. And it's like basically every other word is an acronym, and it takes a solid like month to 2 months to 3 months to even figure out like what people are saying in meetings. So I just kept a notebook with me. I wrote down everything I didn't know, and then I'd go to my friend and either ask it or find it online or whatever I could to like learn about what I missed. And what really helped at Western Digital was there was one person who just loved to talk. Like if you ask him a question, he would go on for hours. And I just like I was like a sponge, just absorbing everything I could, writing down everything, like asking him questions. And that was extremely helpful, is to have somebody that like loves to talk to you and ask them questions over and over again. If they love it, it's great. So that would be my biggest thing, is just find people that like to teach, because some people just want to be left alone. And I don't really want to go after people that are doing that. I like the low-hanging fruit. So people that love to talk to me, I'll talk to them. And I was very grateful to have that opportunity to find people like that. So I think that's it.
All right. Thank you, Luke. And again, thank you, panelists, for all the answers. We will now move on to the open panel. And for this one, please raise your hand to ask a question. I would say put it in the chat, but like Maria said, if you can turn on your camera and ask it, in person, like show us who you are, that would be amazing. And other than that, when I do call on you, please introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns, your year, and your major. And if you're asking a specific panelist, please indicate that or just say that it is for everyone. I see RJ's hand up, so I will call on you.
Thanks, Richard. Sorry, I can't turn my camera on right now. But hi, everyone. My name is RJ Feliciano. My pronouns are he and his. I'm a 4th year mechanical engineering major, minoring in material sciences. And my question goes out to all of our panelists. So is the field you are in right now the field you want to be in for like the long term? And if it is, how did you land in that field? But if it is not the field, but if your current field is not the field you want to be in, how do you plan on transitioning to the field you desire?
I can go. So for me, yes, this is the field that I want to be in. Um, personally, I really paid attention to what I liked and really did not like when I was in school. So I knew I hated structures, but I knew I liked control systems. So I was like, okay, gotta find something that's related to that. I like airplanes, boom, like controls engineer. For me to get to the position where I'm at, it was definitely a lot me making my own path. And you'll see that your career is what you make of it. If you just sit there and just go through the motions, that you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get to where you want. You're not going to get promoted or anything. So I really forced my way through. Like, I talked to a manager that was like, hey, I want to do flight controls engineering. Can you let me into your group? She said, okay, we can try it for a few months. Like, okay, my manager, can you let me? And stuff like that. So I really had to push my way through. Your managers are there to help you, but they're not going to help you if you don't speak up. If you just kind of sit there and you're like, I really want to do flight controls, but one day, and that one day may never come unless you really get out there, speak up, and really push your way through. So that's how I was able to get to the position that I wanted.
I guess I can go next. So in school, you start out so broad that you know a very little about a lot of things. And I started interning and I was like, okay, I like this aspect. I don't like this aspect. Like, what can I do to focus on this aspect that I really liked and like get some direction and some mentors that would like give me ideas of what I could do. And those are your professors, like your coworkers, and they'll tell you like, hey, you'd be great for this, or do not do that. It's terrible. I did that for a year. Like, stay far away from that, And she was telling, like, one of the people I was talking to was telling me it's kind of like a binary search tree kind of thing, where you start at the top and you're like, I don't know where to go. So you just go one way and you just keep going down these different paths until you find what it really like. And then it kind of narrows it down and down more and more and more for you. And I think for now, I think it's a great place for me to be. I could see myself doing this forever. I don't want to make any commitments because again, everything can change all at once. So I do like it. If I would love to stay here. And it really, what really helps is talking to people who have been there and asking them, okay, how do I get to where you are? Like, that was the question I really asked the design guys. Like, I really like what you're doing. Like, what can I do to get your job? And they'll tell you, and they'll give you like the things they did wrong and the things they did right, and saves you a lot of headache too.
All right, and I guess I can go next. So I definitely am in the industry that I always dreamed to be in. In terms of my position or what I do right now, it's getting there. My ideal is to work on zero emission vehicles, whether that be battery electric or fuel cell or whatsoever. Currently, I'm working on hybrid. As you might remember, I was working on purely engine before this current job. So there's definitely been some transition. I think what it's taken is kind of a big picture look of what it is that I like doing, what it is that I want to do, and what are the gaps from that point. So looking at that ideal job, I could kind of see like qualification, like a job posting. There's qualifications. There might be, oh, you gotta know how to do Simulink MATLAB. You have to learn Candida. You know how to read that. Some other stuff like that. And in your current role, you might not have those exact skills, but at least you know what to aim for, what to learn. And when it comes to learning, that is always like you always have that freedom to learn at your pace and learn what you want to learn. And of course, with online learning like Coursera or a bunch of other learning websites, there's ways to get there. So I think one takeaway to leave with you guys is don't look for a job just because you're qualified for it. Because when you're in a job that you don't like, and you're looking for your next job, and you're just basing that off of what you qualify on, you might not like that job either. So that's that takeaway.
All right, I'm the last one. So yeah, initially when I was still in college, I actually wanted to work for a petrochemical company. I wanted to work in the oil and gas industry. That slowly faded away as I interned for an environmental firm. So I got into the good side of chemical engineering. I fell in love with it just through my internship experience. It's been I guess my goal is to basically build my own consulting firm. Like I said before, the consulting industry is very varied. There's a lot of variety in tasks that you can get involved in. There's a lot of things that you can do, a lot of things to learn. Yeah, so that's been my main goal, is to have my own consulting firm and hopefully build my own practice through it. But yeah, so like what Maria said, for if you're you want to be able to take a proactive role in your position, take on different while you're in job, you want to be as proactive as possible, taking on different positions or different roles that if you have an opportunity to take on a different role, I would do that and try to learn as much as you can, because it gives you a lot of skills that you can apply to different industries or different positions. It makes you more valuable. And if you want something, you want to be able to speak up and go after it, because no one's going to give it to you. And I think for me with Tetra Tech, with my current employer, I had there's a little bit of I guess the difficulty of I wanted to be more of a project manager at my position, but my position entails more of a associate level. So I kind of tested myself in a free agent market in different consulting firms, and I was given an opportunity for another consulting firm to take on that position. And that was one thing that I had to do in order to progress my career. So if when you're starting off, you want to be able to learn as much as you can, but also be able to take on the responsibility of the higher level. So once you're at that level where you can move up, you're ready to go. And so yeah, that's my main advice of being proactive in your career. So
All right, thank you, panelists, and thank you, RJ, for the great question. I think we heard a lot of good ideas for how you can actively engage with your career, depending on which direction you want to move. I will take Nick's question, and this will be the last question for the open panel, just in the interest of time. So go ahead, Nick. Nick, you seem to be muted.
Oh, I am muted. Sorry about that. Hi, my name is Nicholas, and I'm a third year at UCI. I'm studying Mechie, specializing in aero. I guess some of my interests are like sustainable energy and like CFD stuff. My questions to everybody. It's so as we all went through like, you know, our bachelor's program, have you noticed any like large differences from designing in industry and like senior design stuff? Like there's like new fronts coming in like with research. Have you noticed anything that's going to be like applicable?
can you repeat that question?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry. It's so is there any large differences in like the design process from school versus like industry?
Everything.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah.
Everything.
There is
Everything.
no similarity based.
Yeah, it's more theoretical in school.
I would say the biggest difference is in school, you have like 6 months or 3 months or a month to do your project, right? And you start the project from scratch every time, basically. Whereas in industry, you're working on what people did 20 years ago, but just a modification to that. And you're changing some things. you're adding some things, you're taking some things away. New generation comes, you add this new technology, and it's basically like it starts like this, and it morphs and morphs and morphs. You hop in basically blind, and you're like dragging from a fire hose, trying to like keep up, and basically like you're a very small cog in a very large machine, and you're responsible for your team, and you're helping your team out, but you're also trying to learn like way too much all the time. And like my parents are always saying, like, you're always learning in engineering, and that is 100% true. I am like, the more I learn, the less I feel like I understand, really. So
Very true.
that's yeah, it's much different.
Yeah, I totally agree with Luke. It's very different. I think something that's not stressed enough, at least when I was in undergrad, was system-based of the system itself of a company and of a product. When you're working on cars or airplanes whatsoever, any product that we deem is very useful, it is all a system. There's a design aspect, manufacturing, testing, validation side, all of that, and you can't forget requirements at the top. And then it goes from component level to system level to or subsystem level to like the vehicle, or so on, the full picture. So this is something that I feel I missed out in my undergrad, but I did capture in my master's program. And it's something that's very useful in industry. If you understand that you yourself are only a piece of the system, but you know that where you are and you can navigate that, like you have your customers in the way that like whoever's coming from upfront to like what you're passing your job along to. That is very important and indeed something that will be useful for you to be successful in your career.
All right. If the panelists do you guys have anything else to add, or is that good? Okay, cool. Thank you for the question, Nick, and answers once again. So for the next part of our event today, we will be doing a breakout room session. I will be putting the panelists into your own breakout rooms, one per panelist, and you will have a number of students with you. You will also have board members in there, so Fusion board members, to hopefully keep the conversation and start the conversation just in case. But other than that, I will be starting them right now. Okay. All right, hello everyone, welcome back. Sorry if I interrupted your conversations one more time, but I do want to be mindful of the time for this panel. For now, I will be closing. Yeah, sorry, Alan, and sorry, everyone. I will give you some space for after the panel for you to continue, but hopefully you've had a chance to get in contact with your panelists. Other than that, I want to say thank you to all the panelists today. Thank you, Erin, Maria, Luke, and Ryan for coming and joining us today. And thank you for everyone who attended. I hope you've had a chance to get to know your peers and a couple of professionals in the industry you might be interested in. Other than that, our next event will be a faculty panel. I'll leave that screen on after this. I will keep the Zoom open up until 6:15 if you want to stay, and you can also be put in a breakout room if you wish. Other than that, thank you everybody, and that is it for today's event.